Remembering Byron Dann. I'm Bill Luerssen. As part of capturing St. John's history, I would like to share information on one of our gone but not forgotten members. That person is Byron Dann. He was a friend, an inspiration to me, and a member of consequence who left us better by his presence. First, some information on Byron. He began attending in 1981 and moved away to Yellow Springs, Ohio in 1999. So he was part of the congregation for about 18 years. He started coming to St. John's in 1981 when he was 63 years old. His wife of many years had died a couple of years before, and he came to St. John's to join a singles group called Interaction. There he met one of our members, Sylvia Carter-Denny. This was the beginning of a relationship that lasted until his death 33 years later. While he was here, he was very active in the men's group. He was also a fellow choir member with me for over a decade. Byron had 2 engineering degrees. His long career had been at Procter & Gamble, where he helped design and build food production plants all over the country and beyond. If you have a jar of Jif peanut butter, you're looking at Byron's work. He retired from Procter & Gamble at age 65, yet the company so valued his considerable skills, they kept hiring him as a contractor until he was over 80 years old to solve problems in production plants. It is those skills in design, problem solving, and working with contractors that he brought to St. John's. His work is in multiple places around us. Let's look at 4 of his projects. First, the sound system. An earlier sound system was built by volunteers and had significant problems. Byron, working with a contractor, designed and built our current sound system. You can see the 2 speakers at the front of the church. The bass speaker is the large white box on the wall near the west emergency exit. The treble speaker is the curved, narrow white unit hanging near the ceiling in the center. There are multiple sockets for wired microphones up front, various wireless microphones, and in back, a cabinet containing the amplifiers, mixers, and other electronics. The current wood cabinet has replaced the original black metal cabinet of the original installation. Extensive conduits running outside the building connect all of these elements together. So much of what we're able to do in our services today is made possible by that sound system. The second one, the frame for the Great Wreath. This one is of particular personal importance to me. In 1984, the idea was born in the men's group to build and hang a large Christmas wreath on the front of the building. The wooden frame was built but could be stuffed with greenery from Spring Grove Cemetery. I had the job of rigging the Great Wreath to lift it high onto the exterior wall and secure it. For all but the first year, this was done with a system of cables and pulleys that could be pulled with a car to raise the wreath. In about its 5th year, tragedy struck. The wreath was 40 feet in the air when one, then the other, of the upper pulleys failed. The wreath crashed to the ground and was destroyed. This was all in front of the whole congregation watching the lift, and in front of me, the mortified rigger. Enter Byron. For the next year, he helped me upgrade the rigging. He also designed and built a larger, sturdier 6-segment frame. That frame served for the next 25+ years to create the Great Wreath. A third one, the restroom doors. This may seem like a small thing, but it isn't if you're in a wheelchair. As part of an accessibility team in the late 90s, Byron designed a way to reverse the way the doors to the restrooms open. They now open inward. This has made them wheelchair accessible and ADA compliant. The elevator. John Garber, the architect for the sanctuary, designed it with 3 small arched entranceways that are behind me. The presence of 3 strict steps leading up to those entranceways, however, kept the sanctuary from being wheelchair accessible for almost 4 decades. Again, as part of that accessibility team, Byron designed and had constructed his crowning achievement at St. John's. He created the 4th arch. And in the new arch is an elevator for wheelchairs. It's a marvelous design, and it blends so wonderfully with the original architecture. Most people who come here don't know that it wasn't always there. Now for some comments on how he lived his life. Byron was a gentle and cheerful man, yet he lived his life with such courage and verve. For instance, Byron retired at age 65, and then he learned to scuba dive. He continued this hobby for the next 20 years, putting in over 550 dives all over the world. Finally, at age 85, he decided this might not be good for his health, so he sold his equipment. But what did he do? He bought an ultralight airplane and learned to fly. So for the next couple of years, he could be seen flying in the skies near Yellow Springs. After a couple of years, he decided to give that up. He told me that he found it too solitary. He couldn't take anyone with him. So he sold the ultralight and bought a motor scooter. So in his 90s, he was riding all over Yellow Springs. So this is an incredible man. He's truly a hero for me, and he lived his life to the fullest, and we should all aspire to that. Now I'd like to add a personal addendum. As Claire Wagner and I were working on this video and talking about Byron, she mentioned that she enjoyed hearing about my family's adventure travels. I related that they all had St. John's roots. She was fascinated and felt this was St. John's history that should be recorded. So here goes. My wife Susan Small and I have been together for 27 years. In that time, we've rock climbed, scuba dived, taken long distance bicycle rides, and river and ocean cruised in Europe. All of these have roots here. In the early 70s, a St. John's couple, Bob and Sylvia Mersfelter, introduced me to rock climbing, and I was hooked. Another St. Johnner became my long-term climbing partner. I've now been climbing for over 4 decades. In the mid-80s, 2 St. Johners, Dick Monahan and Roger LeBrun, introduced me to scuba diving. I've now been diving for over 3 decades. About a dozen years ago, Susan and I were introduced to the joy of high-quality road bicycles by a St. John's couple, Janet and Michael Howe Smith. Since then, we've been on multiple week-long 300-mile group rides. About 5 years ago, St. Johners Sharon and Jim Nichols introduced us to biking river and ocean cruises. So these activities that have shaped my and now our lives have their roots here. I guess my message is that this congregation is full of interesting people with skills and knowledge and passions that you may want to acquire. And you may have ones that you want to share, enriching your life and enriching the lives of others.